Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Salam Media. It is now exactly 32 minutes past 7, and you are tuned live into Friday Night Live with Thaakir Dawood. We've got a jam packed lineup. We just wrapped up the car talk, but coming up, we're going to be joined by South Africa's most capped player ever. The entire history of Bafana Bafana. Yes, the most capped player ever. He also captained the team. Adam Mokoena. He now, the former South African skipper, spent 13 years playing out in Europe, and he's now back in South Africa, joining the bench with one of the coaches that coached him out at Ajax Cape Town. That's Coach Jan Older Rickering. Amazing achievement, an amazing feat. He's going to be telling us more about his career in Portsmouth, his stint he had with BlackBurn, and also how South African football can change for the better.
Thaakir.
Coachy, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Coachy, being back in South Africa, what was the one thing you missed the most about South Africa after being over in Europe?
Pop, brother. I promise you, that's one thing that it's not easy in Europe. And when I got back, first thing that I had to have was pop and milk. You know, that's how I got up, and that's how it was easy to get it. So yeah,
that's an interesting one. And Coach, when you left South Africa, Swallows were at their prime in the Premiership. Obviously, the title naming rights changed so many times over the years. Now I've got the DStv Premiership. Swallows are back. They having a good run of games. How does that feel for you?
No, it's absolutely feel great. I mean, it's good to see, the likes of Swallows. I mean, Swallows have a big history, as we all know. I mean, Swallows, Orlando Pirates, Kaizer Chiefs. Those are teams that you always want to have in the league. I mean, when we go to PL or England, you can't enjoy the league without having Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Portsmouth as well. The history that they have achieved. So having Swallows back, it's great news. I'm sure it's great for our old. I would probably say grandfathers who we know. Most of them actually they've been following Swallows before, or they've been fans for Swallows. So yeah, it's great actually to see them back and doing well, of course.
Coach, you've spent 13 years in Europe. Now you've come back to South Africa. You've had a stint with Wits before taking up the coaching reins. You now share a bench with one of your coaches that coached you at Ajax when you started out in Europe, Coach Jan Older Rickering. What was the transition like from being player-coach relationship to now sharing a bench with him?
Very interesting. Very interesting. I never thought that I'll sit on the bench with my former coach before. I always said in all my interviews when I was still playing, I always said that I don't see myself being a manager. But of course, I mean, when you're just about to finish or at the exit of your career, that's when now you get advices and you get really to dwell in your next chapter, if you like. And likes of Dr. Kumalo played a role in terms of making a decision, and it helped a lot. And seeing myself now working with Jan Older Rickering, it's something that I never thought of. But he was quite happy. He was quite happy that I'm joining him, and he said, which I think for me actually it was absolutely amazing. He said, you know what, you'll experience what I'm experiencing now, that you coach a footballer and then you get to sit with him on the bench coaching one club. So he said to him actually it's absolutely amazing feeling. It's a feeling that he couldn't really explain. So it makes me feel proud, But again, I mean, I really had to think, properly about my decision. And coming to City, I think it was the best decision ever.
I mean, you could have easily walked into any football club in South Africa because you did have a short stint with Bafana Bafana, advising and things like that. Why Cape Town City?
I think it was all about the relationship that or the history that I had with obviously Jan and the chairman John Committees. I had a chat with John Committees as I was aware that Jan is about to join the club, and we had a chat about the fact that he coached me at Ajax, and that actually it absolutely it was an interest on John's side, and again the fact that Vasil, the assistant coach, then was about to leave, or he had offers, as you know that we have worked with Benny before, and Benny wanted him, in Durban, so it was actually a great path or an easy path for me to come through. So yeah, I think your question is quite perfect. Why City? I thought, I mean, with the history that I had with Jan, the relationship that I have with Chairman John Committees, and the professionalism at City, that I mean, those factors made it easy for me actually to choose this fantastic club.
Coach, you mentioned professionalism, and you've played in Europe, one of the most professional continents on earth, easily. That's why the leagues are booming, and not necessarily on the football pitch, but commercially as well. I mean, Coach, if there has to be a comparison between the two, what are some of the things that you've learned over in Europe that you'd like to implement in South Africa that could help us move towards a more professional DSTV Premiership?
Look, I mean, it's absolutely should I say, uh, this thing it's not easy, Takir. It's not easy. I mean, in Europe, it becomes easier because um, every city or most of the cities they have, the clubs. Say, for instance, you look at Manchester. There's clubs in Manchester, and it's easy now to get followers or supporters for Manchester City or for Manchester United. You go to a team like Blackburn Rovers. Blackburn Rovers is based in Blackburn. You that actually makes it easy for supporters, well, to fill up the stadium to start with, and to get loyal supporters, because it wouldn't really make sense. Yes, I mean, I know at times we tend to inherit what our brothers or our fathers have done. If my father was a supporter of Liverpool, I tend to become a Liverpool supporter. But then it becomes easier when you have a team like Val Professional. That's the area where I come from. Val Professional, to get Val supporters. So yeah, I think in that way it becomes easier. But now that you would have the system that we have here at home, I know that we want to have a lot of clubs. There are people who wants to own clubs, but it becomes easier really. I once had a chat with the chairman of Baroka, and what he said to me is exactly what I'm saying, that he wanted to have, in his club, to have um, most of the players that are playing in, or that are staying in Polokwane, so he can attract Polokwane supporters. So he understood that, in areas, once you have a club, and to attract the people to support your club, there is a certain way to do that. He thought that obviously it's about getting players who are based, who are from local, to play for his club, so he can attract the supporters. It's a tricky one, to be fair. Takir. I mean, that side, it's a as we all know that football was born in England. So for them, it became easier to say Liverpool will attract Liverpool people. Manchester United or Manchester City will attract Manchester people, and well, if you come from outside and being a fan for Manchester, yes, I mean that's also fine, but majority it becomes local based people. So here at home, I know that Orlando Pirates did that, and they have a fan base, big
Yes.
fan base. Kaiser Chiefs, they're doing the same as well. They have and again, it's you know um, uh, the marketing side of the club, you know. Uh, Obviously, once you have a proper marketing structure, you have professionalism in a club, you can be able to attract support, sponsors, and the more you attract sponsors, the more you attract supporters. But I would probably say in that one, it's other way around. I mean, the more supporters you have, then you can be able to attract sponsors. So it's a tricky one. But for me, I always believe that once you have a club in the city, you need to try to market it in the city first before you go outside, so you can be able to get a proper fan base, and the it will be easier again from your house to go and watch Cape Town City in Greenpoint when you live in Cape Town. So yeah, to market, I think the marketing structure in the club is very, very important.
Look, and I think you certainly know what you're talking of because you're in quite capable hands there. I mean, Cape Town City is a fairly new club, but if you look at their numbers that they hit in and week out on social media platforms and all over the media, they're certainly up there with your big two clubs. That's Kaiser Chiefs, Pirates, and not forgetting Sundowns for that matter.
No, absolutely, absolutely. That again, I mean, it made me actually I mean, from a distance, I could see that there is a professionalism, and again, I know for a fact that John Committees and Rob Moore, they ran Ajax Amsterdam, Ajax Cape Town before,
Yes.
and it was absolutely properly done, and they inherited that from Ajax Amsterdam, so they understood how the club supposed to be ran. So for me actually to choose coming to City, it was easy based on those factors, and knowing very well that yes, I mean City is a new club, 5 years, 6 years old, but John Committees has been in the game for almost 27 years. He knows, actually, he's been around the blocks. He knows how to run the club. He knows how to manage people. He knows how to run the business. So it made it easy for me actually to come through this side because of those reasons.
Yeah. Looks like he's got as much number of years in the boardroom as you has had on the Bafana pitch, eh, Coachy?
Yeah, no, I think he's more experienced, obviously, because I mean, yes, when it comes to years, yes, almost similar, but experience matters most. I mean, running a league, PSL, one of the most expensive league in the world, that tells the story. You got to be spot on. You got to know what time is it. You need to know actually the game
Yeah.
very, very, and the politics of the game as well. So I mean, he knows the politics. He knows money. He knows how to run the club. So yeah, that's why actually he's he's the owner of such a beautiful institution.
Coaching, yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, let's go back to the coaching side of things. You've been in South Africa for a number of years. You've seen how things are done in South Africa. And if you look at the comparison between South Africa and Europe, I mean, what is the difference in terms of the medical teams, the technical teams, behind the scenes? Is there much of a difference between how things are done over in South Africa compared to how they've been done over in Europe?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, there's a
Hmm.
big difference. I mean, um, remember in Europe, these people actually they believe that football is their lives. They
Hmm.
invest lot of money in this game, and they make sure that the employees of footballers are well paid. They make sure that medical department is well paid. They make sure that the doctors are there, and the doctor become a full-time doctor for the club, which it's different to when you come back at home, where you would find that a club would outsource
Hmm.
some, well, medical people, or you name it. So that's the difference. I mean, once you in Europe, you play for Ajax Amsterdam, and you are an employee for Ajax Amsterdam. You don't work somewhere else. You can't see other clients. Your focus it's within the club. So that's the difference that we have here at home. I mean, I know that money it's a factor. Money plays a big part in this game. I mean, invest once we have, as I said before, once we have sponsors in the club, then it's easier to run the club smoothly. I mean, a team like Kaiser Chiefs, a team like Mamelodi Sundowns, they have the resources. They have Orlando Pirates. They have the resources. They have the money to be able to have full timers in
Hmm.
the club. So that's the difference that we have. I mean, um, coming to City here, we fortunately have such people. We have people that are full timers at the club. It can be better, but as I said, I mean, City. You can't compare City with Kaiser Chiefs and other clubs that has been in the league for years. I mean, 5 years, 6 years, with the achievement that City have at the moment, with this, the structure that they have at the club. For me, I think thumbs up. I mean, the next 5 years, I see this club being one of the popular clubs in PSL. I mean, you look at the way we play, the way we play. I would probably say we are so interesting in a sense that when Liverpool and Manchester United are playing and we're playing against, say, Mamelodi Sundowns or Kaiser Chiefs, you would want to watch us playing.
I know
Um,
which game exactly I'm watching now. Your style of football, for that
the,
matter. I
the,
mean, the way you open up defenses with just those tiki taka football, and it's such a blend of the traditional South African football and also the European mindset and the pace on the ball and also the amount of touches that our players have. It's something that's pleasing to watch. It's easy on the eye, and I think more football like that and South African PSL could be one of the most watched leagues in Africa. Maybe one of the top leagues in the world.
no, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the fact that we have attracted, a lot of African players it coming to play in South Africa. That tells you the story. That tells you actually how this league, how important this league is, and in the world. I mean, when Kaiser Chiefs playing Pirates, it's one of the most, like, one of the biggest, derby in the world.
Mm.
So we have what it takes. The fact that we managed to host the 2010 World Cup as well, it plays a major role as well. So, yeah, actually, we have a beautiful league here. We have a beautiful talent. It's all about really trying to nurture the talent very well.
How can we chat about 2010 World Cup and we just talk of it like a normal occasion? Coachy, come on, man. Shed
Yeah.
some light. Shed some light. You've spent a number of years in the Bafana jersey. What were some of your most memorable moments in that jersey?
Takira, I can't name much really. I mean, I think 2010 World Cup, leading to 2010 World Cup, I had over 400 international interviews. So I'm talking about, uh, you know, media from Jamaica, media around the globe, to try actually to sell the World Cup and to tell the people how beautiful South Africa is, how people were so scared about South Africa being dangerous.
Mm.
The thing is, like, the thing again, once you're abroad, you watch BBC, where they would show this the Cape Flags. They would show so where it's very dangerous, but they wouldn't show you about the Cable Mountain. They wouldn't show you the Sun City. They wouldn't show you Stellenbosch, the vineyards. They wouldn't show you such. So I had to come in now to be an ambassador to 2010 World Cup for South Africa, and that for me actually being part and parcel of that, that legacy, being part of that event for me. I think it's going to stick in my head or for a very long time. I mean, I had so many games for national team. I played with big players. I've been coached by big managers or experienced managers, but
Massive
20
managers, massive coaches. I mean,
up.
who are some of your favorite teammates in that Bafana jersey? Anyone that you have great memories with?
Yeah, you see, the thing is, again, I mean, the fact that I was the captain, I was overall. I never had a player that I would say was close or was a friend. I was a friend to
Mm.
everyone. That's how actually I felt. I'm supposed to be like. Yeah, I got along with everyone in the national team, with all the teams that I have played with in the national team.
And I mean, one of the most, what were some of your memorable managers playing under for the national team? Because obviously, South Africa's had a number of managers, especially building up to the 2010 World Cup, where SAFA would want that perfect plan in place to make sure that we go into this World Cup and we actually perform, which in my context, South Africa did perform. It was just unfortunate that things ended up the way it did. Any memorable managers?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think Carlos Pereira. Carlos Pereira, in due respect, I had so many, good managers before. Jomosono, you name them, Pito Msiman, you name them. But Carlos Pereira have left a foundation for us, a foundation that unfortunately we didn't build from. He introduced players that we never knew about before, and he was mainly about youngsters that would be ready when 2010 World Cup actually arrive.
Mm,
Um, and I have learned a lot. I mean, the first thing that he said to all of us actually who worked with him, he said, you just need to understand your qualities as South African footballers. You can't play like England, England, that country that would play the long balls and head and tackle. That's not your style. So he said to us, one, you have quick players, you have short players, but very skillful players. So
mm,
he made sure that he implement a way that is suitable to our style, and that's why you manage to see the likes of Spiro Shabalala shining, the Stephen
yes.
Pienaar shining. I mean, when we talk about Spiwe and Stephen Pienaar, they're not tall players, they're not big players, they're very
Mm,
short players, but they managed to shine because of what Carlos actually emphasized,
yes.
through his coachings. And yeah, I think Carlos for me really, I mean, he's he's a professor. He's been a professor.
Mm.
Worked with a lot of good players before, and he won the World Cups before. So I have learned a lot and enjoyed working with him.
No, definitely a man of top caliber. Coachy, 2010 World Cup came. We've seen the likes of Stephen Pienaar. Let's excuse him from this discussion for this moment. But let's take Renilwe Letsulanyani. Let's take Tumulen Kune. Let's take Sipiwe Shabalala. Um, let's excuse Bongani Kumalo also from this conversation. From 2010 onwards, we thought the platform was laid for South African players to flourish internationally. What exactly went wrong that our players did not get international opportunities post 2010?
I, I always like to to say it as it is, Takir, because really, I mean, we've been there, we've done it, you know. For me, I think really, the clubs that players are playing for, they played a role in um, not making it easy for this player. The agents they never made it for this player. I mean, just to change it a little bit. I mean, where I am now at City, what to if uh, you have, he said, God, um, I would go, if you can be able to one or two doors. Not all owners of
Coach, I think we're just having a break in signal there. Can you just repeat that, please, man? It looks like the network just broke us off for a second there.
can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying it's not a lot of owners of the clubs are thinking the same as the way John Committee is thinking. I mean, he wants to see these players successful, and he understands that to be the best, you need to be rubbing shoulders with the best. And where do you find the best? You find the best in Europe. You find the best by playing in big leagues, and the big leagues, unfortunately, it's in Europe really. And he wants to see these players moving abroad for the best of South African football. So if we could have the owners of the club who thinks similar, same as how he thinks, I think really we can go far. And like as I said, I mean, the agents and the clubs after World Cup actually they never really made it easy for the players to move abroad.
Do you think they just became greedy in that time because we knew the value that we had in our hands right there? And I mean, we heard some of the numbers that were thrown around for Shabalala, for example. There was top clubs in Europe wanting him. I think Manchester United, if I'm not mistaken, were one of those clubs. And the amount of money that was put on the table by other clubs were just ridiculous. And us requesting more was just, I think that's where everything went south.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's where greed comes in. But again, I mean, once you have invested, you want to see the return investment.
Mm,
So I think they have done it in a wrong way because right now, actually, our national team is getting affected.
yeah.
Um, Most of the players never got a chance actually to get that experience that we have or the exposure
Mm.
that we got out there. So yeah, it was just unfortunate.
Yeah, Coach, I mean, we've spoken about players in Europe and obviously now going to Europe, South Africa. A lot of our South African players go to Europe, they don't get much game time and they struggle over there. What is the big difference? What are some of the struggles that you've faced as a player over in Europe? And I mean, advice could you share to our current crop of players to make life a bit easier for them once they obviously go over to Europe?
Takir, look, I always say to all players that I talk to, I always say it's important when you make a move, where do you go? Um,
Mm,
uh, I know most players wants to play in Spain. I know most players wants to play in England, but it's important to understand that it's never easy out there. I mean, you are a foreigner to start with once you're there, and it's important to get to the way we have started. I mean, I went to play in Ajax in Netherlands. From there, I went to Belgium, and then I went to England. So it's so important that they have to get a way in. You start from the leagues like Belgium, and get to acclimatize, get to um, get to get used to the culture, the weather, the language. Once you have passed the test, then you are able actually to play everywhere. or anywhere in Europe. That's my belief, because really, I mean, um, you look at a player like Benny. Benny went from Ajax to Celta Vigo to Portugal, and you know, so this is the chat that I had with Pesita when he wanted to go to Europe. I said to him, yes, I mean, your bigger picture or your bigger goal should be England, but there is no chance. You can't leave South Africa and go to England and be a regular. No chance.
Mm,
So it's better you go somewhere, get to understand, to acclimatize, get used to start to things, and then move to
mm,
England. And I'm happy that he took my advice, and where he is now, actually, it's where he belongs. And of course, I mean, it will never be easy for him actually to get through. He will start on the grandstand, he will get on the bench, but the fact of the matter is that he needs to be mentally, he needs to be strong. He needs to
mm.
understand he's a foreigner. He needs to work harder than a domestic player. So with his quality, I hope really he would be able to succumb the difficulties over there, and understand that um, he wants actually to see himself getting games in England. Brighton, that's a good start for him.
Yeah.
He can be able to get game times if he really put his focus in the game. And I've got no doubts. Know him very well. He's a hard worker. He's a player that is really focused. So yeah, just wish him all the best.
He's definitely implemented that Kasi flavor in England as well. We've seen him put a couple of players flat on their bums. It's quite a pleasure watching him over there.
Important to enjoy it, but we
Mm,
have to understand that he can't do it too much. You know,
yeah.
actually, when you start embarrassing players, it becomes a yeah, it can work against you.
Mm,
They play a constructive football. They play a football that would say you respect your oppositions in a way. But you look at the way the Messi are playing. They playing constructive football. They would make you sit on your bum, but going forward and scoring goals. That's what actually it's all about. That side. It's all about winning the game as much as enjoying the game.
definitely. It's something that we see in your style of play as well. I mean, you guys are quite fancy, but going forward, that's one of the positives that's needed in South African football. Coach, look, you've got a tough weekend ahead of you. You're obviously playing in the formerly known Port Elizabeth against Chipper United. Also, another team that started out in Cape Town and now they've made their way down to the Eastern Cape. What do we expect from this game from Cape Town City?
We want to win this game, Tariq. I mean, it's one actually. This cup is a cup that we felt that as a team we need to work hard actually to be able to win it. It won't be easy. We know that, and more especially going to cheaper. It won't be easy. They have the new manager now, Denden Malisela, who he did well with I think that was Galaxy, and yeah, I mean he would want to win this one as well. But for us, it's very important, more especially now that as you said, we're playing exciting football, but it's all about really at times winning ugly on this one. We want
Yeah.
to go as far as possible, or as far as possible. So it's a very important game for us, as we understand that it won't be easy, more especially playing away. But we'll be going out there and try to make it difficult for cheaper.
I think that's just cup football as a whole. Doesn't matter how you get that victory, as long as it's a victory, that's all that matters. Move on to the next round.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right now, actually, like as I said, I mean, we can accept to win ugly. You know,
Yeah.
uh, yes. I mean, we believe in making a show and making a point that after the game, our fans have enjoyed watching us playing, but at the end of the day, we want to come back to our families, we want to come home, we want to come back to the club or training ground with a victory. So, as I said, I mean, we'll be going out there to make sure that it becomes difficult for cheaper. It wouldn't matter how we win, but we want to come back.
No, definitely, Coach. I mean, we're reaching the end of the interview, and I was hoping that you could let us in on a bit of a secret. I mean, we do know that a Cape Town faithful and a Cape Town favourite has recently parted ways with Maritzburg United after formerly being their captain. What's the chances of him joining Cape Town City and performing in front of his home favourites?
Well, I don't think I'm in a good space, Thaakir, to pull that. I mean, we happy with that we have. Players that we have actually are doing well for the club. Yes, I mean we still need additional in the club. I mean we had two trialists last 2 weeks, so we are a
Mm-hmm.
club that is welcoming. We are a club that if a good talent is out there or wants to join us, we don't mind actually to have the talent. So I won't close much. I think the best person to close on your question now is the chairman. I don't want to get in trouble.
Well, I see that smile on your face, and I feel like
Um,
you
I'm,
know a lot more than than you're telling us.
listen. Don't don't look at that. I always smile. I always don't get.
Such a beautiful smile. We've gotten so used to seeing in that Bafana jersey and also in a BlackBurn jersey and a Portsmouth jersey. Coachy, thank you so much for your time this evening. I wish you all the best with your stay in Cape Town and your role at Cape Town City. I hope that it's a successful one and that many more titles are brought to the Cape Town-based club.
Again, thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and hopefully we'll see each other soon.
No, definitely, Coachy. Thank you. That was Adam Mokoena, the former Bafana Bafana captain, the most capped Bafana international. He's also had played for BlackBurn. He's had a stint with Portsmouth as well. Started his career abroad with Ajax Cape Town. What an illustrious career! And now he comes to add another chapter to the book where he coaches the Cape Town City team. That was Aaron Mokoena. Um, Thank you so much for tuning into that segment. It was beautiful. If you've missed it, it will be available on Salam Media's social media platforms, and also the podcast will be available after the show. But up next, we're going to be chatting about another South African making waves. Patrice Motsepe, the owner of Mamelodi Sundowns, is now looking to get onto an African platform. He's running for the presidency of CAF, knowing that he's got the backing of Southern Africa. It's quite interesting. Well, we're going to be chatting to Falesa and Len Muleko after the break to hear what their thoughts is on Patrice Motsepe's manifesto.